There's a protest going on in Woodruff Park on the west side of downtown Olympia, and looks like some of the counter-protesters have faced off against the protesters. So a lot of yelling. Hopefully that'll be diffusable. Looks like about equal numbers of protesters and counter-protesters.
Kick my ass! Yeah, you can kick my ass! You guys fucking weapons, dude! You came up to a party rather than barbecue! Fuck you! You're fucking on my fucking birthday! Fuck you, you fucking asshole! Our fucking neighborhood! I'm not doing that!
That's the
Bitch-ass motherfucker!
Maybe we shouldn't have torn down their sign that they were blocking the road with. Maybe we shouldn't have done that.
Did you tear down a
I
sign?
tore down the sign. They were blocking the road here downtown in front. Somebody told me they were trying to set up a chalk zone or something stupid. Oh, there they go blocking the road again.
He's got his hand in his backpack. Just be mindful.
Ask them what the fuck they doing. Don't ask us. Ask them why they want to come. Why they want to come and agitate us. Go ask them for real. Why would y'all do that? You being a white man.
There's a police cruiser rolling up. Some strong feelings, some loud voices.
Talk to me. Go ask them. Go fucking ask them. Why are you asking us for?
How is it your wife left you for this guy?
I'm not taking this over.
Are you gonna pull a piece of paper down?
David, I'm Joe.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. Have you been down here very long?
Oh, no.
Did you just get here? A little bit heated when we pulled up to cover it. Joe, you might want to look over here. Somebody's getting...
No.
Let's not get physical, folks. We're just...
Tell people what to do, stupid. You just did too, man.
Yeah, I'm asking you not to be violent. I'm asking you not to be violent. No, you can shut the fuck up. You can shut the fuck up. Well, that's not the epitome of political activism right there, but...
They're instigating this. Kinky is walking around like his interrupted face.
We've had a paintball gun shot.
They were putting him in his face, and he swiped it down. He lost his temper, I think.
This could get really violent. I don't know that this is This is west side of Olympia at Woodruff Park near Garfield Elementary School. Fairly tense confrontation between some counter-protesters and some Black Lives Matter or other additional protesters. Huh?
Why are they shooting my boy?
I didn't see, man. I'm not picking sides. You've been cool to me. I want to be cool to you. I just wish.
My boy.
And it's getting scary how tense this is because people get stupid when things get
I
tense.
just got shot for no reason.
I am sorry. That's not me. I'm just covering this.
I'm
All
just
right.
letting you know. I just got
Yell
shot.
at my boy David, man. That's my
I
boy.
just got shot for no reason though. It was by he went back somewhere.
It's
He's
not
back,
him?
No. Oh yeah, it's right him right there. He just fucking shot me, the big one.
For what, though?
I don't know.
I think they were getting in a scuffle over.
And nothing happened. This is insane.
No, look, this one right there. He started grabbing someone, so everyone started coming out. That motherfucker right there. Yeah, he came out and started doing something, so everybody started coming out. That motherfucker shot me for no reason. Yeah, that shit hurt.
Y'all are violent fucking kids and you need to go the fuck home!
Oh my god, you're recording me right now. Shit. You know you're recording me here without your consent?
Not recording you, just recording the events.
The events just has my face in it and all these guys' faces.
But we're in a public place, ma'am. I'm sorry.
You're not supposed to record a minor, okay?
I can record anything in a public space.
But you're not supposed to record a minor.
Anything that takes place in a public space is public domain. I've been doing this for 30 years, ma'am. Okay. Okay, but anything that takes place in a public space is public domain. I'm just documenting what's going on. I'm not trying to bother anybody.
You guys come over here.
No, don't. I'm not you guys. I'm not part of this. I've been documenting it for 3 weeks. Okay? I'm not you guys. No. What? You got sprayed?
Oh yeah.
Oh dear.
Point blank in the eyes.
So just be careful here. You've got some people coming around the flank. Somebody's chasing off one of their own protesters for some unknown reason. Looks like some of the counter protesters were sprayed with tear gas. So apparently one of the protesters. Yeah, can you tell me what's going on? Did somebody do on the protest do something offensive or?
Sorry, I'm not going to say.
Okay, no sweat.
If you really want to document something, I feel like that you should document it.
All right, I'm not trying to dox anybody. I'm just documenting, sir. Okay. You be safe. I'm not on a side. I'm literally just been.
You're trying to get documentation for make sure you're getting that
I
side
am.
of it, man.
I'm getting everything just from an unbiased point of view. If you want to watch what I do, go ahead. I'm not trying to hurt anybody.
I'm just not trying to have no black people, nobody being exploited, and no images being put out there in no other type of way other than the way that it is, because it can't be perceived any other way.
It is not being edited, and it is live feed. Okay.
Well, make sure you know that this cannot be perceived any other way.
Can I show you
what it
I
is?
want to be seen.
You see what it is, dude. It can't be perceived any other way. You
I
see
agree.
what this is.
You see something live, it's pretty straight up.
There you go.
These people came up to threaten us. And you know what the shittiest thing about these people is? They say they do not have any news. Just fess up to the fact that they came to intimidate us. That they came. So, you are having they have no right to come up like that. I do. So what I want you to do is I want you to ask them. Look what my people with weapons here. We're just really hard on is unnecessary or violent.
So a lot of heated discussion going on in West Olympia on Perry Street in Harrison, next to kind of a legendary Egan's Drive-In, between protesters and counter-protesters. I'm not sure how much things have simmered down, but there is some heated dialogue going rather than some just shouting and shoving. Yeah. There seems to be an internal squabble going on with one of the protesters having offended something or someone.
I want to have a fucking barbecue without people showing up with weapons. Do you understand that?
Do you know who also made
Fuck
that
you.
video?
I hear you, and I need to talk to them. I was trying to give
I've
you my
never seen that one, to be honest.
This is so bad. You know
I was
idea how
like, damn,
upset.
that video.
And
Hey, why don't you
I'm
send me the link since you got my info already?
I heard what happened here.
There you go.
It is going to be addressed. I'm going to address it.
I got
Someone's been funding.
I know, there's a bunch of shit going on right now, huh? It's fucking crazy, right?
There's a New York Times podcast about it. There's multiple resources.
So we're back to having one of the protesters being sort of sent packing, which is just sort of an interesting, not seen any experience like that take place. Please don't touch me. All right, good deal.
You guys seem like the band, that's nice.
This is what this person is doing. This person is organizing armed resistance to city and city. It's very like
For those of you just joining us, this is the edge of downtown Olympia. Actually, it's the west side of Olympia, Washington. There was a protest demonstration going on, and some counter-protesters showed up, and a little bit of a altercation ensued, a shouting match. Things are slightly cooling down. We've had tear gas deployed, we've had paintballs shot.
Does it have to be chaos? Does it have to be? Does it have to be?
I just wanted to give you a bump.
I'm a contractor. So we're here. But he was
Hey, Michael.
This is the weapon.
I don't want to get shot with it either.
Hey, Michael.
Well, you want to go shoot someday, man?
Who's hiding?
It's me. I'm you.
Don't be afraid.
This is set.
So there's actually some odd dialogue breaking out. This actually happened last Friday after a skirmish. Sort of the fights and battles broke out and then subsided. And it looks like about the same number of protesters and counter-protesters. In our experience, that's sort of led to a stalemate, for lack of a better term. Excuse me. Usually when there's kind of a equal level of people, kind of a détente.
What the fuck you mean? Right here, I have video proof. That's me. Video proof you shot me. No, I wasn't. I was staying over peacefully. Yes, I was. I don't fucking know. I got shot so I went over there. What? We're being peacefully. Peacefully. I have blood poisoning. You guys keep on for no reason.
Can you agree with this? If they start shooting, shoot out the ground, scare them, make it stop. Have to, don't fucking shoot. You were standing back. I understand that. But you were standing back. You went the ground scares. That's all you have to fight through the way.
But it's gonna make people go.
I still talking.
If you're just joining us, we're in West Olympia at 75-year-old kind of pillar of the community drive-through. Egan's Drive-In, and there's a group of about 40 protesters and 40 counter-protesters having a bit of a standoff with, there's been a little pushing and shoving, a lot of yelling, some tear gas, some paintballs. What's that? I'd like you to stay back from me. The last time I saw you were menacing two old people in the truck. You weren't. No, I'm talking two old people. The last time I saw you, Jeff, you were menacing an old man and an old woman in their truck. So what do you want to say to me?
Sure. Okay, so menacing people is not okay. If people felt menaced by me and I was doing that, then they approached me about it and they were like, you know what, we think we're doing this. I might say, you know what, you're killing people and they felt menaced. I menaced you. Was it okay for you to menace them? No. Was it okay for me to menace you? No. And what happened here tonight is my 36th birthday. Hello, everybody. And we were having a barbecue over in the park. And then we had a banner up, and like they're like, well, it's blocking the street. But it's the street that we were harassed by people who were driving through. So we blocked the street temporarily. A street on the west side that, like, I've lived here for years, and nobody goes down the street almost ever. The only people who are going down there were yelling at us and cursing at us. So we put a banner up across it, and then this truck, American Wolf truck, comes up with Peter Diaz and barrels through while people are screaming and scared of this truck and feel threatened, and they come up and confront them because we've been getting threatened by a bunch of people. People have been getting hit by cars. People have been being threatened by people with weapons. And I know people are angry that people are smashing windows and they're doing graffiti. And I understand that anger, but there is a different way to deal with that anger than coming up and threatening people. And I'm so scared. All my friends are over there and there are a bunch of people with weapons. And there might be a fight. What happens if somebody with a gun over there shoots them? That was my birthday party, and the Peter Diaz comes up and he threatens me, and he threatens my friends. And if any of you think that is justified because people are breaking windows and doing graffiti, then you are sorely mistaken. Because we do not need this type of anarchy. We don't need this weapon.
What you're saying, I completely disagree with, sir. And I'm sorry, I completely agree with. I'm sorry that happened. I'm nervous. I misspoke. I totally disavow. Can I ask you something? Would you right now disavow and denounce violence and vandalism instead of saying it's an acceptable evil, it's an acceptable collateral damage, when it's not your nose to the grindstone, when you're not the bartender, the waiter, the waitress who's being fired or doesn't have any money to pay for anything? Would you meet me halfway there? Because I will totally disavow. I don't have any pull with these guys, but I'll ask them to leave. Am I being fascist by asking that, to disavow violence and vandalism? I don't want to get into a big group discussion. I just want to go, but I know, like I said, I'm talking to him and I'm just honoring what he said and I'm asking for a response. Would you respond to my request?
Okay, yeah.
Join him.
I'm not going to be on camera. I prefer not to, but...
I can't really get your voice without getting you close. All right, get close then. I won't show you. I won't show you.
You can hear me.
Okay, I'm going to get close so I can hear you.
I'd rather not. I'm not really...
You're not on camera.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not really comfortable with that. You know?
Well, okay, you're asking me to have a dialogue, then you're telling me you're not comfortable with me. I'm going to respect that, but I can't. You're way off axis, and we can't even hear
I just
you.
don't want to be recorded, audio or video.
Okay, then the purpose of wanting to be on the live stream is kind of moot.
I want to fucking talk to you.
Okay, then we can do that after this. All right.
So you're on this...
I'm an easy guy to find. So would you respond to my response?
I'm going to answer it in the way I'm going to. So, and that is some people who live above the Starbucks, whose window got smashed, like that's their house, right? And they came down, they talked to people, and there is...
And just for integrity, it's been smashed 3 times or 4. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And people are like, this is my house, and I've watched dozens of people shift opinions about whether or not that was an acceptable place to target, right? And this process of having people speak about being hurt by other people is called restorative justice, and this is actually what we are fighting for, right? And so when we have people who say, oh, the police aren't doing their job, therefore we're going to do it for them, who are coming out with weapons saying we're going to do this by force, the reason why we're really angry about that is because we know that there's a better way to deal with it. Like, we know that there is...
What is a better way? Could you throw...
restorative justice, and restorative justice is a, the formalized process of it involves bringing people together, one person who's hurt another person, and getting the person who hurt the other person to understand why. And that's what that is like, it's like, okay, downtown businesses are being hurt, okay? So what you do is you humanize the business by empowering the person who got hurt to speak for themselves, to bring their voice up. And when people go like, oh, like, I know you, you're in my community.
You're a human being, you're not an object. I'm very familiar with restorative justice, and I totally agree with you, except would you acknowledge one thing? That as I'm listening to you right here...
by people who are coming down with weapons who say they're coming for peace, and they're making things worse.
And even as I'm sitting here listening to you and trying to honor your perspective, do you realize that I am ready to knock somebody out, having to watch my 6 o'clock and my 3 o'clock because so many people have come after me for simply documenting the behavior of some people? Do you support that? Do you think that is fair? Do you think I deserve to have somebody try to attack me for documenting the reality of what's going on? Unedited live stream. Is that fair to attack somebody that I have to watch 180 degrees around me or my vehicle to not get stabbed, punched, shot, sprayed?
I think that's like a very unjust situation that you're in. And I think that we can trace that injustice back to...
I don't like to point in the field. That's disrespectful. But yeah, you can talk. I'll let you talk, but don't go like
okay, we want to talk about how America came about.
Like, there's in Olympia protesters, we had people who have gone into solitary confinement for extended periods of time, which many world bodies consider to be a form of torture, right? And so we've had people come out protesting against this.
It's just fireworks. Fireworks! Fireworks!
That's either traumatizing and at least the FBI rolled through and indicted people and took them to a grand jury. The other night, I saw people who were attacked by a drunk guy, and the cops showed up, and the people were defending themselves, and they were like dressed in black, and the cops arrested them. So like, what we know is that we have
The police, I didn't see that, so I can't speak to it, except that a man was arrested for stomping a homeless man with 4 or 5 other people, and nobody can lie about that because there are cameras throughout downtown Olympia. So when that comes to trial, which it probably will not, it'll be documented on video, whether your perspective on it or the police report perspective on it is the accurate one.
I think if people think that's wrong and that we should have it's not hurting no one. Like methods that are just or not inhumane. None of it describes our justice system.
Our justice system is not based on restorative justice. It is punitive. You're right. It's called a correctional system. It's punitive.
We don't have anybody to follow that we trust to deal with it. People are afraid of not having police anymore, but many Americans are losing without the police because they're too afraid to take all that shit. And what we're trying to do here is we're trying to say that for the 96% of cases that don't involve any violence whatsoever that police are responding to, we can have other services. And
But do you see...
The 4% of the cases that police are responding to are like not even are trivial violence.
Have you ever been to a domestic violence call or a suicide call where the cops are the first ones that have to respond? That's where they get killed most frequently, other than traffic stops, is a domestic violence call. Do you realize you cannot send... What's that?
Almost like assaulted by the police because they're having a mental crisis. Like, for example, and the police didn't know how to deal with it because they're not trained. But like, I have no research. I've stepped in people by Olympia, so we had a night.
Do you realize how much crisis intervention and de-escalation our local police training provides? Have you done a ride-along with police and see what the bullshit they put up with and that they spare you and I from? I'm not defending police brutality, but I am asking you to maybe open your aperture.
I have worked with the police community in ways I have friends who are living out in camps.
Okay.
Unless you have like relationships with people you're actually talking about, I don't think you know what you're talking about. Because I've had friends who was like 10. I have friends who 10 was ripped by the police. The police just came and full search.
They're gonna leave, okay? I would like to stay and talk to you because I think you're being civil and I appreciate you giving me the time. But to be honest, I don't feel safe staying here like I used to, talking to you because of having been attacked in the past. But I'm gonna leave, and I appreciate you guys being civil. I appreciate you talking to me.
Ever since you threatened us, you said open season on black emergencies. What is open season?
It means I'm not going to not call them out on their hypocrisy. That's what it means. It's no threat of physical force or any kind of violence. You've seen me ask you to disavow violence and vandalism. Why would I advocate violence and vandalism? Because I'm what?
You're duplicitous.
I'm duplicitous. That means I duplicate things.
It means you have two different meanings for the things that you say. You say things
All right.
that might be overtaxed.
Hey, all right, well, then I'll turn over a new leaf if that's your definition. Happy birthday, and I'm going to leave because I'm not going to be safe staying here. Corey, let's go. Corey. Be safe. So that was West Olympia, one of the more fixtures of the Black Lives Movement protests. Jeff, he's a local protester. He's been involved in things, gosh, I think I've seen his name back to the Occupy movement. It's been involved in homeless issues and at times been a reasonable guy like tonight, or reasonable as reasonable can be. Are you clear behind you?
Yeah.
And that's the most he's spoken to us. We initially had a podcast interview lined up, and he decided that we were aligned with, I don't know what, that I was a fascist, or that we were somehow oppressive.
Hey, hey, please don't. Please don't. We're leaving, man.
So again, as soon as the numbers were disproportionate and half of the counter-protesters had left, some of the pajama-wearing ninjas came up and decided to try to kick somebody's tailpipe. And I think things are going to hopefully dissolve. And there's the lone. Will you stop for a second? Hey, why were you pushed out of the group? What was the conflict? Did you do something? No, you didn't. No, you didn't fuck me. Why were you kicked out of the group? What did you do against your own people? You're white.
Fuck the Anglos and fuck the Saxons. I'm a Celt.
You're a wasp. Have a good night. All right, let's roll. He's a Celt. The epitome of hypocrisy. The other night, we saw a bunch of white kids screaming in a bullhorn at midnight in Sylvester Park in downtown Olympia, harassing the people who live above Starbucks in the Stewart Place apartments. And it was literally a black man that came down and yelled at them to shut up, that Black Lives Matter, but black people need sleep as well. And it was sort of a moment of comic relief. But it actually devolved into a fight where he was, one of Olympia's very, very small minority of African-American community. I've joked, some of you don't know, that, gosh, out of the 6 African-Americans in West Olympia, 3 of them are my little brother, my little sister, and my other little sister. And one and that's the truth, by the way. But you don't run around saying that as a white person like you get some kind of pass. It just means that you've probably talked to some people about this living in Olympia who are actually of color. And having them in my family made it particularly offensive to see a bunch of snot-nosed, sniveling white kids and their bullhorn disturbing people who don't live in the luxury apartments of downtown. They live in the working people apartments of downtown. But in the midst of being asked to be quiet, in the midst of being asked to go elsewhere so people could sleep and get a good night's sleep after having night after night after night of bullhorn and night after night after night of disruption and smashed windows right at the base of their apartments, they decided to fight against that. A person of color, a person who lived right there, their self-righteous wokeness was more important than somebody asking them to be civil and human and everything that man was just blathering on about. Not the goofy Saxon or Celt or whatever, but Jeff the Anarchist. That should be like the new Karen, shouldn't it? There's OK Boomer, there's Karen, the whiny cul-de-sac dwelling middle-class woman, and there's Jeff the Anarchist. Those are the people who know best, even when people of color themselves, or even when the Black Lives Matter representatives say, hey, please stop smashing stuff, please stop doing things that take away from the message and cause the greater part of our community to resent the protests. All right, soapbox done. But hey, maybe now would be a good time to mention the fact that a bunch of our woke politicians, I'm going to post a little link, a bunch of our woke politicians got together and clutched their pearls and cried out at how offensive and dangerous these neo-Nazis coming into downtown Olympia are. And I'm no fan of vigilantes or 3%ers or patriots or American Wolf or whatever the hell they call themselves. But I remember hearing some little proverb when I was a kid about, hey, why are you looking at the sliver in my eye when you're ignoring the log in your own eye? And it seems to me the worries about boys with their toys carrying their AR-15s around their neck, or people that are coming down to counter protest and sort of keep the peace or watch over things, you wouldn't even have a concern about that. They wouldn't be here if you might come out, instead of publicly disavowing and denouncing those fellows, go ahead and do that. But maybe also disavow the violence and vandalism that's caused them to come out in the first place. So to that end, I completely agree denouncing vigilantism, and I wrote a letter to the same 33 woke politicians from the South Sound of Western Washington who immediately signed on to that without even giving a lick of concern about the violence and vandalism that has gripped and paralyzed Olympia for the last 4 weeks, after having already been paralyzed for the last 12 weeks by the coronavirus lockdown. So we asked them, hey, good job on disavowing and denouncing vigilantism, but could you also maybe take a step back and just put your neck on the political chopping block ever so slightly by denouncing and disavowing violence and vandalism? Absolutely support the right to protest, the right to march, the right to chant, the right to peacefully assemble, support civil disobedience even. But how about disavowing violence and vandalism? Just like I asked that young man, Jeff, or 36-year-old man, he's no longer young, sometimes he sounds like it, to disavow and denounce violence and vandalism. And it was really, really hard for him to... He had to look left, he had to look right to see if he was going to break ranks, if he was going to fall down a few notches in the eyes of his militant cohorts. So we sent out a letter to not only the 33 woke politicians that signed off so concerned about vigilantism, which I've been down here a majority of the nights this has been going on, not every night, and have seen little to no true vigilantism. And we also sent those same things, that same letter, to all of the political candidates that are currently on your ballots that probably just arrived in your mailbox for the primary that's going on in Western Washington in the South Sound. So we're going to be day by day chronicling who's slicing and dicing and trying to dodge the issue, because I guarantee that's going to happen. Who's conveniently going to pretend like they didn't hear about it? No, I want you... If you're in the South Sound, if you're in Thurston County, I want you to email your candidates and your elected officials and say, hey, how did you come down on the issue of simply disavowing and denouncing violence and vandalism in protests? And if you cannot have the political balls or the common sense to do that, could you please tell me why? And as we get closer and closer, we've asked them to respond by next Friday, 1 week from today. It went out today. That will be 1 week. And then we're going to announce to the community who had the political cojones to stand up for common sense and decency and say, I absolutely support the right to march, to protest, to chant, to peacefully assemble and engage in civil disobedience, but I do not at all support violence and vandalism. And I denounce that, and I'm willing to sign my name to this letter. And any politician who's not willing to get on that bandwagon, I suggest you put their feet to the political fire and ask them why that is. Maybe have that factor in to who you choose to align yourself with politically. I'm also posting a link to, if you are just an average Joe Blow citizen and you want to have your voice heard about whether disavowing violence and vandalism is simply common sense. It has no political thing. It's not going to cure anything. It sure would be nice if our politicians saw how many of our local South Sound residents are absolutely aghast and amazed and disappointed by their woke, riding the bandwagon, politics and posturing, their self-righteous and sanctimonious grandstanding. Look it up. Those are some great words. And instead, absolutely disgusted that they won't get on the bandwagon with supporting the Black Lives Matter movement if you do, but supporting the peaceful expression of your political beliefs. I don't remember downtown Olympia going into lockdown for 4 weeks when all these kids and women and men and little old ladies put pink vaginas on their head and protested in tremendous numbers at the state capitol. Nothing was broken, nothing was torched, nothing was smashed, no statues were pulled down. And nobody was beaten up or stomped like has happened in these 4 weeks. I don't remember anybody being intimidated or having to put plywood over their windows night after night, week after week, or even having the plywood peeled off so that we can get to the windows and smash them. When said vigilantes and 3%ers and so-called patriots and so on were assembling at the Capitol in defiance of the stay-at-home order. Whether you think that was ridiculously stupid and dangerous for transmitting the coronavirus, or whether you think it was protecting your liberty, the fact is nobody had to protect their businesses, their livelihood. Nobody had bartenders, waitresses, clerks, maintenance people flat out of work because they were closed down for 4 weeks due to those protests. This protest that has attracted the hangers-on is quite different. There's businesses that already died because of the coronavirus 12-week lockdown, and there's a tremendous number more that are died and not going to come back because of this ridiculous, hypocritical, parasitic, stealing the limelight from the legitimate concerns of the Black Lives Matter movement and stealing the thunder to put it about people in ninja pajamas. White kids screaming about fuck the Saxons and fuck the Celts and fuck the Anglos, fuck the WASPs. Those people are empty, vacuous losers. They've done nothing with their life. They have achieved nothing and helped and contributed absolutely zero. And their way to express their teenage angst is this utter bullshit that I am done being quiet about. I'm asking you, South Sound and Thurston County and Olympia, to stop being quiet about. In fact, tomorrow, there is a march in alliance with the Black Lives Matter movement starting at 2:30, assembling at 2 o'clock at REI at the Capitol Mall in West Olympia. I guarantee you it's going to be peaceful. I guarantee you there are going to be kids and their parents thinking they're doing their due diligence and their social justice duty by supporting a legitimate concern about unequal justice in America. And that might be a great thing. I also guarantee you that tomorrow night, when those said suburbanites and cul-de-sac dwellers go home, and what's left are the black pajama-clad Antifa and anarchists, it will be a completely different set of circumstances. Things will be broken again. Things will be spray painted again. New sheets of plywood will be torn off so that windows can be smashed. And everybody who participated that stretches to pat themselves on the back for being so socially aware and so down with the revolution will have no clue or no care or no concern for the poor schmucks who are left yet again with no livelihood, no job, no even light at the end of the tunnel. And if you think I am wrong, come down, but stick around. Go have lunch, go have dinner. Come back at dusk. Come back at the witching hour when it gets dark. If there were 1,000 of you that turn out for the daytime sunny picnic parade at 2:30, if even half of you, 500, turned up to just observe, I guarantee you that would have a deterrent effect on the ninja pajama wearing crowd smashing up your town. If you can't do that, come back online and watch us. We'll stream it live. Sit at home. But you have no right to bitch or moan and complain if all you're going to do is sit at home and watch people smash up your city. You have no right to complain about vigilantes if you don't come down and say, hey, some of these people are here protesting for the right reasons. They're not engaging in vandalism and violence. And I'm here to support that, or to simply observe and share space, as they like to say, or to be an ally, as they like to say. Be an ally. Come on down. Be an ally for civility and common sense. I invite you to click that link and have your voice heard. and say that you disavow and denounce violence and vandalism in protests. While you're at it, if you are coming down, I would invite you to look at the flyer. It's going around online. You can find it in our video from Thursday. I'm sorry, our video from Tuesday on the west side of Olympia for the March in Alliance with Black Lives Matter, where at the very bottom of said flyer, there's one great little slogan that says, "This march honors a diversity of tactics." This march honors a diversity of tactics. I've never heard such a mealy-mouthed load of horseshit in my life. The tactics are civil disobedience, peaceful assembly, marching, protesting. You're not dishonoring diversity. You're not oppressive. You're not fascist if you don't honor the diversity of tactics that include terrorizing downtown Olympia, terrorizing old people in their cars, terrorizing a minority of people when there is a majority of you surrounding their car. That's not a diversity of tactics. That's utter horseshit. And if you sit home and watch this horseshit continue to spiral downhill, Olympia, you deserve what you get.